It's all right for a couple of hundred racehorse owners to be gathering at the Cox Plate on Saturday.
Look, I think that issue's been dealt with.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess the question though is why isn't it okay for larger groups of people to be gathering outdoors at, say, religious ceremonies, at funerals? I mean, you were clearly okay with a larger group being there on Saturday, which suggests that conditions would allow larger gatherings now. So why not?
Yeah, so we are planning to speak with religious leaders over the next couple of days and trying to work out sort of what is the safest way to allow them to observe their faith the most safely. I think with all events we look at the settings and if it's a particularly large space, then things are a little bit different than in a smaller space. So
the cathedral's pretty big. I mean, you could probably fit more than 10 people in it. But
and it's not and it's also not outside either.
I might just, it's not happening. If it had happened, it's one event. Like there's mass every single Sunday. There are prayers at mosques every Friday. So and the thing is, it's not. We don't need to go back over this, but I'm just making the point. It is not happening. And we explained why.
But you decided it was okay for that.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just asking.
Yes, but I think it's important. The only point I'm making, Lundy, is this: it's important to acknowledge that was one particular event on one day, right? The notion of dramatically expanding right now for Saturday or for now a number of other settings, you'll soon have many more than a few hundred people in aggregate terms availing themselves of all of those options. That would not be safe. That would not get the tick from the public health team. In any event, it was the wrong call. It's been fixed, and on Sunday, just a couple of days away, we'll be able. I'm very confident we'll be able to have more to say about faith gatherings, and that'll include some of the ones that you just mentioned.
I probably agree with you that it was the wrong call, but I'm just wondering why the health advice was different for that. And I mean, a racehorse owner's immune from the virus. Like what? Why
But Andrew, the point I'm making to you is this: if you're talking about 120 people at a race for a period of time, right, an hour, all the settings that you've just spoken to, that'll be well more than 120 people in hundreds, if not thousands, of different locations all across the city. So they are different. One is a single thing. It was wrong. It's been changed. It's not happening. But I think we need to be careful in comparing that with not just one event, but with many events that might occur on that day or in the days to come. That's the only point. That's the only point that I'm making. It's not about classes of person or different categories of people and their immunity or otherwise. It's just about one was for one setting. Others, like the ones you've mentioned, would be in multiple settings and could well be many more people than what we were talking about there. In any event, it's not happening. And on Sunday, hopefully each of the very important examples you've given and many others will be able to confirm what those next steps will be.
If no one else can have an event, why can they have an event?
Sorry?
If no one else can have an event, though, why can they have an event?
Well, they're not.
Why are they?
That was only a decision made after you had faced major social media backlash and the government looked at the decision and said, hey, we got it wrong here. So why could that, and I'm very keen if we could hear from Professor Cheng to outline the specific public health advice that led to the Cox Plate being ticked off. Could we get that from Professor
you can,
Cheng?
but let's not just skate over the fact it is not happening. And on Sunday, and you can speak over me if you want to, but that's not the way. Simon, please, let me just finish the answer, and then you can ask Professor Cheng whatever you want. But one event with 100 people is not the same as hundreds of events with hundreds of people. They're just not the same. It's not the same thing. And if we're to be criticised for having listened and then changed the arrangements for Saturday, well, so be it. I think that's far preferable to have pushed on. But it is not appropriate to make comparisons. One event with 100 people at a point in time versus hundreds of events with hundreds of people, that is a different thing, a very different thing. And that would not be approved. And it has not been approved, and that's why there's not hundreds of events going on with hundreds of people on Saturday. There's not even smaller events with just a handful of people, like another family coming to your home to watch the footy.
So are they those types of events more likely to have public health approval when things open up a bit more with the one-off type?
We'll have to wait and
events?
see. Well, no, look, I think it'll be more because of the passage of time that will make it more likely that things like that will be able to be. We'll be able to say yes to them, whether it's Boxing Day test or the tennis. Like if the Boxing Day test was being held this, like Monday next week, then obviously there'd be a much smaller crowd than will be available in a couple of months' time. That's the point that I'm making. Alan, sorry.
I guess if you were happy a couple of days ago to have a few hundred horse racing types together,
Yes.
why can't a grieving family have an extra, say, 5 or 10 people at a funeral today?
No, I understand, and that's why it's not happening, because we can't.
But I guess
it was
the health
approved to
advice was
occur.
obviously...
Yes, it was, and I want to make the point that there's not perhaps just the one funeral. There might be many funerals, and therefore they are deemed a different risk. No one is pleased about that. No one. But the fact that those two things do not sit easy with each other is one of the reasons why this is not occurring on Saturday. There will be a time for those sorts of gatherings. That's not now. And also, Lundy, there'll be a time, and hopefully it's quite soon, where we are able to have more people come together to celebrate the life of someone that they've lost. The point you make is exactly the reason, or one of them, why this is not occurring.
And just to clarify, you said that you would allow the health advice before you said, yes, I will. We will allow that health advice to be released to us
No,
publicly.
Simon wants to know the answer, and Professor Cheng is about to tell you.
Look, I think some of the factors that it's not like we're expecting 1,200 people to just gather in one spot. That's, that was not what was presented. There are people that are involved in, the jockeys, the strappers and so on that are running the event, and they're very separate from other groups. And there was certainly a plan for, other people to be well separated in small groups. So that was sort of some of the things that we took into account. It's very different to a mass gathering of 1,200 people.
So it was you had clear scenarios presented to you by, I gather, Moonee Valley Racing Club and the government through Triple C or before Triple C, and it was pretty clearly set out how you were going to manage those people. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, yes. There's public health advice as to how many people and where they would be and how they what would prevent them interacting with each other and so on.
What capacity does DHS in future, like regardless of any announcements on Sunday, have to assess those sorts of one-off proposals?
I mean, especially for these, every circumstance is different. So, it's a certain configuration, a certain number of people that are required to, run the event and so on. And we just need to make a judgment on each of those things as to whether we think it's safe or not. So we clearly can't, assess every single event, but for these larger ones, we can do that. And they are all different in different ways. So we just need to make that call as we see it.
Professor Cheng, do you currently believe it is unsafe for more than 10 people at a funeral?
Yes, but I think that is changing over time, and we hope that I can't exactly remember what the regional situation is, but it's slightly different, and it will change over time, and we hope that by next week or the week after that.
How do you
that
then
will be different.
prioritise though? I know you say they put a plan forward, etc., but how do you prioritise a group of 500 over a group of 10?
So again, it's not 500 people that are all gathering in one,
But a
and all
funeral
interacting
maybe
with each other. They are spread out over a period of, and there are safeguards to stop, people more than 10 gathering together. It is a very different situation to.
Do you still believe it would have been safe had there not have been backlash? Still believe it would have been safe to have held 500 people extra at the Cox Plate this weekend?
Look, I think the decision's been made, and I think
Sorry,
the decision
is,
that's made
do you still
is appropriate.
believe on public health it would be safe?
Well, I think the decision made was
Sorry,
appropriate.
just my actual question though, Professor Cheng. Do you still believe it would have been safe for those people to be at the Cox Plate this weekend?
I think that the event could have been run safely, but I think the decision that's made is appropriate.
And just confirming you don't believe it's safe for more than 10 people at a funeral?
At this stage, yes, but I hope and expect in the next week or so that will change.